Hey everybody, it's Callie, and today we need to talk about your internet search history. Yeah, I've seen it. It's pretty bad. Okay, well, I haven't seen it, but I can guess that if you're anything like me and you have OCD, it might be a little bit intense. And if you see me glistening, no, you don't. It's 95 degrees Fahrenheit and I don't have air conditioning, so I'm struggling. Anyway, so I know previously I've talked a little bit about my compulsive avoidance or other things that I was doing compulsively to try and alleviate some of the uncomfortable feelings that I was having in relation to my intrusive thoughts as they came from OCD. But I don't think I've really gone in depth about how much time I was spending researching, quote, online, trying to prove or disprove, depending on the context of whatever I was looking for, whatever my OCD was telling me. So if you know anything about my story, I was showing symptoms for a long time, but in my early 20s, I had kind of this like event, I guess, where my OCD really came to a head, and it really derailed my life for a couple of years because I didn't know what to do with it, and the things that I was doing to try and help it were not really what I should have been doing, and it just made it worse and set me back. So what I mean by this is, even before I knew it was OCD and after I knew it was OCD, I was spending tens of hours a week. Every day I would spend hours Googling my symptoms or Googling, you know, what it meant about me personally. In the beginning, when like I said before, I knew it was OCD, and before I had the vocabulary to know that they were called like intrusive thoughts, I would Google things like, what does it mean when I have scary thoughts? Like, are these scary thoughts things that are something about my character? Are these scary thoughts something I should be worried about? And then even after I knew it was OCD, before I was getting the appropriate treatment for it, I was Googling all kinds of things. Am I a bad person? If I haven't shown signs of being a sociopath for 20 something years, what are the chances that suddenly I'm going to be a sociopath? All kinds of things like this. Like, I was trying to find statistics, I was trying to find anecdotal evidence that basically would prove that I was not a bad person, that I was not dangerous, those kinds of things as related to my harm OCD specifically. But there were so many times that other kinds of OCD themes would peek in, so I'd search things like, I remember specifically convincing myself that I had rabies, convincing myself that I had AIDS, that I had all these kinds of different illnesses, that I was making other people sick, all kinds of things. I would just spend a lot of time searching for evidence that again would prove or disprove whatever I needed to prove or disprove. So the kicker to a lot of this research, quote, that I was doing is that the answers that I found didn't really matter, because no matter what, if it was a good answer, my brain labeled it as good, I would find a way to spin it. So one such example is I searched so many times the thing that I was talking about before. Like, if I wasn't showing signs of being a sociopath before 22, like, what are the chances that suddenly I'm going to be a sociopath in my 20s? And all of the evidence that I was finding was saying, you know, no, most people show symptoms of these kinds of things. They have behaviors, they have whatever early on, and that carries into, you know, childhood, adolescence, and onward. That wasn't enough for me. So my brain would say, yeah, but what if? You know, what if I am that one, that new case, you know, that's gonna change everything? What if they've never seen something like this before? What if I, you know, am a unique case that nobody knows what to do with? What if nobody's ever heard of this before and I'm that one? So again, it didn't matter what I was finding. I was finding a way to spin it so that I needed more reassurance, so that I needed to search for more evidence, so that I needed to find more stories about why I was or wasn't going to be a bad person or dangerous or whatever the thing was that I was searching for. So I guess what I'm getting at with that is, it's never enough, right? It's just like any other compulsion where you'll find yourself spiraling and saying, okay, well, yeah, I searched it yesterday, but I don't know if that answer was right. I don't know if that's exactly what I was looking for. Let me spend a little bit more time today. Let me try and figure that out. And that relief that I would feel if I found something that I liked, if I found something that supported this evidence that in this case, you know, that I wasn't a bad person, that I wasn't dangerous or whatever. If I found something I liked, that relief that I would feel was shorter and shorter lived each time. So each time I would have to look more and more to get the answer I wanted. I was rereading articles for things I missed. I was looking at forums for, you know, additional evidence or whatever I was looking for. Like, you know, every time I did it, I needed to do it more. And because of that, it just became more and more of a time suck, and it was just taking all my energy, and I would do it for hours a day. And it started to impact the way that I was interacting with other people. I would not be going out and doing certain things because I'm like, wait a minute, I just got to look at this one thing. I just got to search for this one thing. I just need somebody to tell me this one thing. I just got to know. And then that feeling of, oh, I gotta know. If I know, I'll feel better. If I know, it'll stop. That feeling never went away because I could never prove it to myself. There was always some underlying, but what if? You know, what if this is different? What if you're different? What if this isn't true? What if this is a different situation? What if? And part of this, you know, catch-22, I think, of living in this day and age where we have so much information available to us. Everything is right at our fingertips. In a situation like I found myself in, that was not a good thing because I very easily fell into this spiral that I couldn't get out of, and I would spend, like I said, hours and hours a day searching for answers that just weren't there. Because really, if I'm honest with myself, I wasn't looking for the answers to those questions. I was looking for answers about my own character, my own self, and I wanted to be sure with my own self. But how really, when thinking about it, how would anything that any of those searches told me, how would any of that tell me about myself, tell me about my character, you know? So I was just basically filling this void that I was feeling with my OCD and spiraling, and I let it happen for a long time. So like I said, I was doing a lot of these compulsive behaviors before I was getting the appropriate treatment. But now that I've gone through ERP, or exposure and response prevention, I don't do that anymore. I know that that's not really conducive to my well-being. It doesn't help me get better. It doesn't make my OCD better. Actually, it kind of makes it worse. So if this sounds like you and it sounds like something you are struggling with, if you're searching for these answers that really don't exist, it might be time to look into treatment for yourself. And that's something that you can do right now through NOCD. So you can go to NOCD.com or treatmyocd.com right now, and you can find a therapist that is certified to help people with OCD. And I've said before that it takes courage and it takes work, but the benefits are something that I really can't say enough about. Like I said, I know that I let my life get derailed by OCD for far too long. So if that's something that I can help somebody avoid, I'm all about it. And since we're talking about it, I would love to hear if you guys have ever had that experience where you're like, oh, if I just can search this one thing, if I can get those words just right in that search, if I can find that answer that's just right, if somebody could tell me that answer that's just right, I'll feel better. And then knowing that you're not really gonna feel better afterwards, that it's just gonna get worse. I'd love to hear if you have that kind of experience, because I think that talking so openly about these experiences can really only help each other. So the more we do it, the more we are helping each other. On that note, I'm gonna get going, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.